Baldur's Gate 3 is riddled with a variety of choices, from player race, romance options, companions, and the force of good versus evil. This variety of choice also applies to a hero's chosen class, and in some cases, more than one class. Welcome back, friends. I'm Rogue, and today we will be discussing multiclassing in Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, so we don't have a massive amount of information on multiclassing at the moment. But what we do have are some nuggets of goodness. Now, my intention with this video is to help those who may not be familiar with the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rule set. That being said, I'm aware that some of, if not all of the topics I'm about to cover may or may not be ingrained into Baldur's Gate 3, due to it still being in early access. If I am incorrect on some of these features, I apologize in advance, and you're welcome to correct me in the comments below. Okay, let's get after it. Simply put, multiclassing allows you to gain levels in multiple different classes. This freedom of choice allows you to mix the abilities of various classes to realize a character concept that may not be reflected in one of the standard class options. With this rule, you have the option of advancing in a new class whenever you have obtained enough experience to level up. As you advance in levels, you may retain the bulk of your levels in your original class choice, or you can change the course of your hero entirely, taking on a third or fourth class to round out the hero of your dreams. Now, many dungeon masters and veteran players of D&D will tell you, be careful when doing this because you may end up with a weaker hero if you don't fully understand how the synergies of class mixing works. I say, go crazy. Lorien has already claimed that there will be an option to re-specialize your hero within Baldur's Gate 3, so mix and match it up, fellas. Want a gnome, barbarian, monk, cleric of Mistra, assassin? I say go bananas. With this level of player agency involving what class you can choose, let's talk about how multiclassing works and what abilities are affected. Lorien Studios has already said that the original prerequisites or ability score requirements to advance in a new class have been removed, to help players drip out their ideal adventurer, so no ability score prerequisites required. This in itself opens up the floodgates of multiclassing, meaning the Paladin, Cleric, Necromancer, Arcane Trickster is a dream that can happen. All detailed in this post here that I'm sure you've already seen. Real quick, what class do you think this bad boy is? Let me know in the comments down below. When a hero decides to multiclass, the first thing to be affected is their hit points and hit dice. Each class in Baldur's Gate 3 has a hit dice value that's associated with their chosen class, that ranges from 1d6 to 1d12. I'll show each class and their corresponding hit dice here for easy reference. This hit dice is added to a player's Constitution modifier at each level to determine the character's total hit points. For example, the fighter has a d10 hit dice, and let's say a 14 Constitution, granting them a +2 modifier. At first level, this means that they begin with 12 hit points. This is calculated by simply adding the maximized d10 and the +2. Let's say upon reaching level 2, the fighter decides he wants to become the face of the party and take a level of Bard. Bards have a d8 hit dice which also gains the +2 Constitution modifier, meaning upon taking a level of Bard, they gain 10 hit points, bringing their hit point total to 22. When this same hero has obtained enough experience to become level 3, let's say they decide to take a second level of Fighter. Their hit dice is now 2d10 represented by their 2 levels of Fighter, and 1d8 for their level of Bard, granting them another 12 hit points, bringing their total to 34. The character in this example has a total level of 3, 2 levels of Fighter and 1 level of Bard. The experience needed to gain 4th level is the same as any other 3rd level character, meaning the experience needed to level is attached to your total level and not your individual class level. Hit dice and total hit points are used when a character performs a short rest. In Baldur's Gate 3, when taking a short rest, you regain half of your total hit points rounded down, and some of your spells and class abilities. An easy way to check is to simply hover over the ability to see if it requires a short or long rest to recharge. Understanding your hit dice and therefore your overall hit points is important because in the realm of multiclassing, you don't want your frontline characters to have low hit points, and it's always nice to know just how much a short rest will offer your hero. Proficiency, as I've stated in other videos, is tied to a hero's total level, and therefore not affected by multiclassing. A 5th level fighter has the same proficiency bonus as a multiclass character who is 3 levels of cleric and 2 levels of rogue, but multiclassing into other classes does come with some perks. Now, the list I'm about to show is from the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition handbook, so not all of this may be true upon release. But here are the proficiencies a character receives in D&D when selecting a new class. If you already have the Channel Divinity feature and gain a level in a class that also grants Channel Divinity, you gain the effects granted by the new class, but the total number of times Channel Divinity can be used is not affected. You only increase the number of times the feature can be used when gaining a level that specifically offers more uses, meaning that a multi-classed hero that is 6 levels of cleric and 4 levels of paladin gains more uses in Channel Divinity, because they are high enough level in cleric to gain additional uses of the Channel Divinity feature. Extra attack allows a character to attack additional times within their turn during combat. Gaining this feature a second time does not stack. For example, both the Ranger and the Fighter gain the extra attack feature at 5th level. A multi-class hero that is both 5th level Fighter and 5th level Ranger only gains 1 additional attack from this feature. Only the Fighter gains a second extra attack at level 11, and seeing how upon release we only have 12 levels to play with in Baldur's Gate 3, it's 11 Fighter or bust when it comes to extra attacking. Unarmored Defense is a feature that offers a hero armor class even when not wearing any protective gear. The Barbarian, for example, calculates their unarmored defense by adding both their dexterity and constitution modifiers to a static 10 to determine their total armor class. So, if our Barbarian has a dexterity of 14, granting them a +2, and a constitution of 16, granting them a +3, they have a 15 unarmored defense. When multiclassing, you cannot gain this feature from a second source. So, if our Barbarian decides to take a level in Monk, who also has unarmored defense, except they add their Wisdom and not their Constitution to armor class, the character does not get to add both their Wisdom and Constitution to their unarmored defense. Now, this is just an assumption, but you will probably gain the better result of the formula using either Constitution or Wisdom, whichever is higher, should you decide to make a Barbarian Monk, but this is just wishful thinking. Okay, now for the hard stuff to explain. I want to preface this part of the video by saying that as of yet, we have no information on how spell slots and spells known will work within Baldur's Gate 3. What I can do, however, is tell you how it works in Dungeons & Dragons, and that may give you an idea of how Lorien is sorta, kinda, maybe gonna do things when it comes to multiclassing magic. Don't worry, I'll cover it in detail upon release. For now, let's discuss how it works in 5th edition, and feel free to toss out any ideas of how you think it could work in Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, consider spellcasting as a capacity to hold arcane or divine energy. Your class has a specified amount that it can hold. These are known as spell slots. Each spellcasting class has a certain number of spell slots that they are granted each level. Not every class in D&D is considered what is commonly known as a true caster. This means that a chosen class is capable of casting the highest level of spells. For Dungeons & Dragons, this is 9th level spells that are achieved at level 17. Here is a list of true casters in Dungeons & Dragons. This means that their caster level is equal to their total level in these classes. For example, a 10th level wizard has a total caster level of 10. Following these classes are the hybrid spellcasters, which are the paladin and the ranger. Their caster level is equal to half their total level in either paladin or ranger. So a 10th level paladin has a caster level of 5. Don't worry, this is going somewhere. And finally, we have the quasi-spellcasters. These are the archetypes of classes that receive spell slots such as the Eldritch Knight of the Fighter and the Arcane Trickster for the Rogue. Their total caster level is equal to 1/3 of their total level in these classes, meaning that a 6th level Fighter who has taken the Eldritch Knight archetype has a total caster level of 2. The reason knowing your total spellcaster level is important is because there is a chart in the player's handbook that adjusts your spell slots based on multiclassing. which I will show here for easy reference. So how do we add all of this up considering Baldur's Gate 3 only allows you to level to 12 at release? Let's say you decide to play your journey as a druid. You take druid until you reach 4th level. Then you decide to dip your paws into cleric, taking your next 4 levels in the cleric class. And finally you decide it's time to take your holiness one step further and become a paladin, finishing out the remaining 4 levels in Holy Knight. Well, both druid and cleric are true casters, so their total class level in each class is added to their total caster level, which would be 8. And since the paladin only adds half of his class level rounded down, you would add 2 more levels to your total caster level, making it 10. Then we reference the chart to determine how many spell slots your holy freaking bear has at their disposal. And now for the warlock. Yeah, I didn't forget them. Apparently making a deal with the devil allows you to break the rules. I mean, I suppose that's fitting. Although the warlocks are spellcasters, they have what is considered pact magic, and it isn't applied to the total caster level, and any and all spell slots received as a warlock are fair game. This means that if you have both pact magic and the spellcasting class feature, you can use the spell slots you gain from pact magic to cast spells from your spells known or have prepared from the classes with the spellcasting feature. Furthermore, you can use the spell slots you gain from the spellcasting class feature to cast warlock spells. What a mess to remember. Anyway, I know that this is a whole disaster to drink in, especially if you have no experience with the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rule set, and to be honest, I hope that Lorien tweaks this in favor of the player, because it's a lot when deciding whether or not you want to mess with taking another level of Ranger or Sorcerer, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Well, my friends, I hope that this has helped someone get a better understanding of multiclassing, and it leads you to an amazing character build. Thank you for being here, and I'll talk to you later, guys. Goodbye.